I got many points about this game, but I'm going to start with Jahmyr Gibbs because Jahmyr Gibbs looked like the pick that you would take at 12th overall. He looked like the kind of player that you want to take. Just run down the stat line. 26 carries for Jahmyr Gibbs for 152 yards and a touchdown. He also caught 5 passes for 37 yards. He had an average carry of 5.8 yards per rush, average reception yardage of 7.4. So when they described Jahmyr Gibbs as a weapon, they were not lying. This cat he had more total yards as a singular player in this game than the entire offense of the Raiders. Here's the team stats, okay? They had, let's see, total of 157 yards, which is like, okay, that's not good. And then back to Gibbs. Gibbs had 152 rushing yards. He nearly beat them just on the ground. He had to get some passing yards to get him to have above. But, excuse me, when I say it was loud at Ford Field last night, it was to the point where I got home and my ears were ringing and I had a headache waking up this morning because I was still getting over the noise from the stadium. It was absolutely amazing. The crowd, it was wall to wall. I did happen to see a Raiders fan get kicked out, and that was, Raiders fan, if you happen to find this clip, you're number 1 too, and he'll know what that means. The other thing that I wanted to point out about this game was the defense. I mean, here's the thing. You look at this game, you look 26-14. Okay, it's a relatively close game. It was not close. They scored the 7 points on a pick 6 on a play that was definitely Jared Goff's fault, not Jared Goff's greatest game, but not a bad game for Jared Goff. We'll get into that a little bit more. But look, the defense, you had, I believe, 6 total sacks. Excuse me. You had 6 total sacks, 7 TFLs. Alex Anzalone, again, leading the team in tackles with 7. Tracy Walker had a sack. Anzalone had 2 sacks. You had Aleem McNeil with 2 sacks. You had Julian Okwara with a sack. And the thing is, right, like, Aiden Hutchinson really didn't have his name called all that much, but the rest of the defense just played really well. And, like, Aiden Hutchinson just had the 1 tackle all game. Now, granted, it was a solo tackle, but he really wasn't all that prevalent in terms of making tackles. I mean, I think he was getting some pressures on Jimmy G, which resulted in some sacks from other players. Jack Campbell as well. He's excuse me. I'm sorry. My voice is still pretty sore here, so I apologize. But Jack Campbell, he's starting to figure something out. He's starting to kind of get things going, getting some of that rookie rust off of him. He's been looking pretty good. Of course, Brian Branch looked a lot more like Brian Branch that we saw the last couple of weeks. He had 6 tackles, 3 of them solo. And it was just sort of an all-around showing. I mean, look, I know that the Raiders' offense is bad. I know that Jimmy Garoppolo is washed. He's cooked. He can't play football anymore. I don't care who you're playing. You hold a team to less than 200 total yards in a football game, in a national broadcast game. Enough said. All right, that's top of the league caliber stuff as far as defense goes. That's something else. Like that is beyond just impressive. It is, you have a very high caliber defense, and it's a welcome sight given the difference that the defense just flipped a switch from last week against the Ravens, where the defense was just awful. And this week they come in and they utterly dominate. Now, again, I know it's worse competition, but you have another game where another pretty good running back in Josh Jacobs held to less than 100 yards. Like, I don't remember what the rushing stats were against the Ravens last week. I'm pretty sure they weren't really running the ball on you. Like, one thing's for sure about this defense, it seems to me. You cannot run the ball on us. You cannot. If you're going to beat us, it's going to be in the past. It's going to be like Lamar Jackson did last week. Or it's going to be like Geno Smith did in week 2. You're not going to beat us with the run game. You're not just going to gash us and eat away at the clock. Not going to happen. So when we go against these bad quarterbacks, when we go up against the Jimmy Garoppolos of the world, we're going to win the game. And we weren't fully healthy. So it's one of those things where, and the referees, I gotta say, like, I don't know that many people were talking about it. It felt like there was a lot of really bad calls, really unlucky calls for the Lions this whole game. There was a flag picked up, I remember, early on in the game. There was obviously the fumble in the red zone that should not have been a fumble. Craig Reynolds was clearly down. I don't know how they got away with that, but unfortunately, the ruling on the field is what it is. So you have to sort of overturn that, which, look, I don't really like that kind of in general, but that's just what it is. But the other thing, so we got those were the two goods, okay? Two bads were the offense just stifling and stalling in the red zone. And I think this was where the injury to Montgomery, the injuries to the O-line, they really came back to bite us. Because it's like, yeah, we can march down the field. We could send the ball to St. Brown. We could send it to Laporta. We can let Gibbs run in space. But once the yardage got shorter, it was a lot. It was pretty much, I think we got the one red zone touchdown from the Gibbs. Or no, we had a couple of red zone touchdowns. Both of our touchdowns were red zone touchdowns. But we had multiple chances. Like, this game very easily could have been 40-7. Like, this game could have been an utter blowout. But just like anything, you know, you're going to make mistakes. Players are not going to work out the way that you intend them to. And look, when you have excuse me. Excuse me. But when you have a hurt O-line and you don't have, you know, your starting running back in, it's going to happen. But shout out to Jahmyr Gibbs for stepping up again. Am I concerned about it? Not really. Ultimately, not really. Because I know we're coming at it as a team that was banged up. And I know the Vegas Raiders do not have a good defense. But I don't really care. Like, they don't have a good defense. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? Like, they're still an NFL team. Like, they're not like, you know, we're not playing the G League. This isn't the NBA versus the G League, right? So that much to me is not a concern. It was frustrating because it's like, you know, you mark down the field, you want to get a touchdown, you don't want to settle for a field goal. And obviously Riley Patterson missing a late field goal there. It was a short distance one too. I couldn't believe he missed it. It was weird. They don't show the field goal on the big board at the game. So I was like, oh, I thought he made it. And then, nope, he missed it. And it was like, oh, okay. That's unfortunate because it's still a 2-possession game and there was decent amount of time on the clock, but our defense just stepped up and there was no way they were going to win that game. The other negative that I want to point out here is one that has been just continually getting worse before it is getting better, and that is Jameson Williams. Jameson has he had two catches today, or he had two catches yesterday, I should say. He was targeted 3 times, though. This guy's just got a case of the dropsies. I don't know what it is. Like, he was getting open. And again, this is another time where it was like, you're open. The ball is right to you. You got to make the catch. And that was one of those drives that just stalled where if you catch that ball, it's another first down and maybe you get another chance and you just can't catch the ball. And it wasn't like badly thrown. It wasn't like it was over his head. It wasn't like it was contested. You're wide open. You're a professional football player. You have to catch the ball. You just have to. At this level, there's no excuse. I mean, like, you look at the rest of our offense, we're able to produce without JMO. So it's one of those things where, you know, if you're not with us, well, you know, have fun in, I don't know, Houston or something. Like, we're not, we can't just, when we throw the ball to him, it's one of those things where it's like, if he isn't reliable, if he isn't a reliable catching receiver, there is like, it's just sort of a waste. Like you risk wasting a down trying to get him involved because he just can't catch it. But at the same, it's like you're sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if you don't try to get him involved, then you have you're not utilizing your entire roster. Like So, but then it's a vicious cycle, right? And look, I'm giving Jameson at least until Thanksgiving to make an impact. And that means he's got, I believe, 3 more games at this point. He's got the month of November. And if he's still basically a non-factor on our offense, then I'm done with him. He's a bust. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He just cannot get involved. He can't get out of his own way. And I wouldn't be opposed to moving him in a trade. I wouldn't be opposed to, I wouldn't say you cut him, but if you want to package something up where you put JMO and a 2nd round pick and you want to go get a player, obviously at this point you can't do that, but that would be an offseason move. Like, I don't have time to have a wide receiver who's just a head case at this point. He just can't. Things are not going his way, and unless he just over the next month of November, he's got Chargers game, Bears game, Packers game. So 3 teams that, minus the Chargers, don't really have all that good of defenses, which means you're probably going to get open a good amount. You got to make some plays. You got to have some big, you have to make an impact. If you can score a touchdown in all 3 of those games, all right, we can utilize you. You can be a deep ball threat. I like it. All right. But otherwise, it's like I'd just much rather throw the ball to Khalif Raymond. I'd rather throw the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs for that matter. I'd rather throw it to St. Brown, of course. St. Brown is wide receiver 1. And it's just St. Brown. Like, the irony is, right, St. Brown only had six receptions, but he had 108 yards. So it's like, it's not a matter of, I just need a couple more catches. It's like the guy had 4 more catches and like 90 more yards than you. Like, it's not the lack of targets. It's you. You need to, in order to get those targets, you need to show that 99% of the time you're targeted, you're going to catch the ball. Like, or else you're just wasting the down, or you're risking an interception. Like, you just can't do it. And I'm rooting for Jameson Williams. I want Jameson Williams to succeed, but I mean, the more the weeks go by and they continue to really not utilize him because he's not useful, the more I'm just like, this cat can't play. I don't know. He can't play here. That's for sure. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope that it figures itself out. Also, Amir Abdullah, former Lion, by the way, played for the Raiders. I didn't know he was still playing. I was honestly shocked by that. I'm pretty sure he was on the 2014 team. I could be wrong on that. The other thing I wanted to comment about the game, blue helmets, crispy. Easily the best piece of apparel the Lions have put out in recent history. That blue helmet with the old logo on it. I got a poster of Aiden Hutchinson right in front of me that I got at the game wearing the helmet. It's sick. It's cool. Love it. It makes those gray uniforms look cooler. Because otherwise, the gray uniforms are awful. But when you combine it with that blue helmet, looks nice. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.